Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk H.P. Lovecraft. If you've not yet subscribed to our channel, please take a moment to do that now. Alright then, so last week I announced that Let's Talk H.P. Lovecraft is back for another encore presentation. I keep locating more and more stories, very obscure stories, that arguably feature Lovecraft's name. These are collaborations, revisions, stories that he's touched in some way. I found 8 more of them, and then just this morning I located at least 4 more stories, possibly from his youth, that may be worth talking about, but I'll save them for another phase of Let's Talk H.P. Lovecraft. But for today, we need to get into the Sorcery of Aphlar from 1934. This was written with Duane W. Rimel, and it looks like Lovecraft may have collaborated or perhaps been done a revision on this story. It's only about 900 words in length. It's a piece of flash fiction, effectively, so I will include the whole text in the description of this video for you to read. If you're new to Let's Talk H.P. Lovecraft, the way that this works is that we do a brief synopsis of what happens in the story, and then I follow that up with some notes just at the end of the video, sharing my thoughts on what it all means. Is it worth your time to read? Where does it sort of stack up with the rest of Lovecraft's stories? So, seated in their extravagant chamber, a council of 12 elders in the city of Bel-haz-en, they decide that Aphlar should be banished from their midst because it's deemed that he spends too much time alone in the archives reading the ancient texts that nobody else looks at. He is the last learned man in the city, so he is banished into the mountains. So there he goes. He builds himself a cave, and he continues to watch and observe the city from above. One day, well, actually, back up a moment. He does realize that though he's been banished, this is not the end. Eventually, the knowledge of his existence in the mountains above the city will be too much for them, and they will send assassins to kill him. But one day, Aphlar goes down to the river, and there among the reeds he finds something very delicate and special that he rescues and takes to his cave. Soon after, the council sends their group of assassins up to find him, but they don't find him. They find newly sprouted grass growing around his seat and around the entrance to the cave, and so they leave. But after they leave, we, the readers, are privy to a little bit of information that they didn't have, which is that something small slithers out of a crevice in the back of the cave, winds its way up to the grass and the fresh sprouts, and then looks down at the city intently. It is, in fact, a snail, the implication being that he has transmorphed himself into a snail to continue his observation of the city. So I was not expecting much, but I was pleasantly surprised. This feels very much like a piece of Lovecraft flash fiction. He's done this a number of times throughout his stories, where he basically sets up a mythical kingdom, which may or may not be from Earth's ancient past, may be on another planet, but it's a fantasy realm effectively, and it often features sort of these far-off exotic cities and civilizations, and there may be a wizard involved or a monster and a quest and all of that. But usually there's some sort of parable involved, and that is the case with this one. So it does feel very much like Lovecraft, although arguably Rimel had more to do with it than he did. Really, it's about ignorant people and how they have this tendency to fear the educated and to push them out of their societies. While their own city is polluted and falling down and crumbling around them because of their ignorance of how to fix it. But of course, the people in power themselves, while the people in the city around them are crumbling, they of course have their elegant palace where they hide themselves away. We see the story through the context of magic, but I think it's really about science and about education. And no doubt, it's well known that Lovecraft often felt like an outcast, or he didn't belong, and that's certainly not unique to him. I think a lot of smart people, especially writers, feel that way. So this is a man, Aphlar, who is cast away for his knowledge, and what does he do? He continues to observe, and that is what science is. It's a lot of observation, testing theories, but observing. I would say that it very much echoes the golden age of Greece. in the beginning of the story, he talks about how, you know, ignorance was reigning, but they'd pushed out all the educated, and sort of these topics and this knowledge was no longer openly discussed. And that reminded me very much of Socrates, and, you know, allegedly, you know, speaking on street corners and sharing his philosophies and his wisdom. So I think this is very much a story about that, the idea that ignorance has a way of trying to drive out what it's afraid of and what it fears, well, which is afraid of, but you know what I mean, what it doesn't know. And this is unique, not unique, this is present in all times, I think. I'm feeling it right now myself in the world around me. I see a lot of things that I deem to be ignorant, and then I see people who are more educated sort of being demonized, and it's not a political thing, though politics comes into it. But again, it's not unique. We all think it's unique when we first become aware of it in our own lives, but this is very much the way of civilization. It's a push and pull between people who are interested in pushing society forward and those who are interested in either taking us back to an alleged golden age or maintaining the status quo where things are best for them, but not necessarily thinking about what is better for everyone else. So I think that's kind of the story that this really is. This is, if it can be said to be autobiographical, this is a couple of authors feeling that, yeah, I have something to say. However, I'm having a hard time getting it published, and nobody wants to read it. And meanwhile, sort of fluffy, easy literature with no necessarily underlining value is reigning supreme, basically the way pop music does over better music. That's the way I sort of picture it. But yeah, highly recommended. And I was not expecting that, just pleasantly surprised. But again, it's only 900 words, a very quick read, just a few minutes for you, so be sure to seek it out in the description below. All right, then, next time we'll be looking at the story 4 O'Clock, which is another short one. It was written by Lovecraft with Sonia H. Green, who was his wife in 1922. Thank you, and until next time, keep it creepy.